alternate representing your division, then would you please click on the yes in the participant window so that I can see if we have quorum? We're up to 17. One more and we'll have quorum. Let me just double check that we don't have any lurkers who are lying. And here's Dr. Lopez, who's going to make quorum. I just need to make her a guest host. What happened? Yes, Veronica. I can't make her a guest host. Shireen, am I the host? I am, I'm the host. Oh, I'm the co-host. Never mind, I'm gonna reclaim host. And then now I can make, okay. So I've got everything straightened out that I need. No, not a problem. We've got it. Okay, we are going to call to order here at 3:02. And before we do anything, what I'd like to do is I'd like to read a land acknowledgement. Before we proceed further, I'd like to acknowledge that our college is located on the native land of the Hahamunga tribe of the Tongva Nation. Please take a moment to remember those who came before us. Okay. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, dated on March 17th, 2020, and signed by Governor Gavin Newsom, we are modifying the way that the public will participate in academic senate meetings during the, I need to fix this, fall 2020 semester. As part of its response to the outgoing coronavirus outbreak, the Academic Senate provides members of the general public the opportunity to make comment on agenda items or items not on the agenda. Public comment can be submitted via email to mthennis@pasadena.edu, and submissions will be read aloud in their entirety at the public meeting. Such submissions must be received prior to the start of the meeting. The guidelines for the time and quantity of public comment remain in effect. Just double checking my email. I don't have a public comment, just information about, Sheila, please check your email. Then we have called to order. The next step is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Matt?
Professor Constantine?
Yes, before we get there, I know the last meeting I had asked if we could suspend the Pledge of Allegiance.
You did, but that's going to require a discussion and is on today's agenda.
So it's on today's agenda?
It sure is.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I should have asked, does anybody here, I didn't see any email public comment, but does anybody in the room have a public comment they would like to make? And I think we're going to treat what just happened as a public comment. Things being as they are now, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And so everybody please rise. And ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, we have approval of minutes for August 31st, 2020. I trust that you have reviewed the minutes. Does anybody have any amendments to make to the minutes? Not seeing any hands. I'm clearing all of your little marks there. So if you had a hand up, well, I didn't see any hands up. Not seeing any hands, we are going to go ahead and approve the minutes by unanimous consent. They are approved. Moving on. Constituency reports. Not sure if I see President Whitworth in here, but just in case, do we have an FA report at the moment? Then I'm going to table that unless there is an objection. We're going to go ahead and unanimously consent to table that until such time as President Whitworth shows up. Not seeing any objection, we will move on. We're moving quick today. We've got a lot to do. Adjunct faculty report. Professor Constantine.
Yes, hello everyone. I did attend the FA meeting last Friday, and we just had our Adjunct Faculty Issues Committee meeting today. So that was very productive, very informational. A few things I want to point out. Number one, in terms of the seniority list, it came to our attention that many of the lists have not been updated. So we have some adjunct faculty who are still asking questions about their course load and so forth. So we would ask that any deans, please try to update your list semester by semester. The second thing is that the forms to get the extra office hours for adjunct faculty. Some adjunct faculty said that they did not receive those forms from the deans. Now I know that the forms are due at the end of the month, correct? So I'm not sure if that's the reason why some adjunct faculty did not receive those forms yet, but I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. The third thing, you know, I'm in a bit better spirits today, but the one thing that still, you know, bothers us as adjunct is the health insurance option. We were informed by the Faculty Association on Friday that even with the negotiations, we still do not have an option as adjunct faculty for health insurance. So I'm willing to continue to work with the administration and the Senate to get us as adjunct faculty an option for health insurance. So I'm trying to get some information from LA Community College District in terms of options that they offer for the adjunct faculty. And hopefully we can work with the Senate to give us an option for the near future. And just finally, I think that would be it. Thank you, though.
Okay. I see a hand up. Can I just do a quick informal poll? I've never really asked the Senate this. Can you just give me a quick yes or no? Do you think it's okay for us to engage with report givers if Senate representatives have a question or a comment on the heels of a constituency report? So we're going to call this an informal poll, but I really wanted to know what y'all think. Okay, thank you.
Can you ask that again?
Pardon? Oh, just so during Professor Constantine's report, I saw a hand go up, and I wanted to make sure it's okay with the body if folks can address constituency report givers. I assume that that's what the hand was about, but Professor Chafee.
Yes, it was. I just wanted a quick clarification from Professor Bevel. What were the forms for adjunct office? How did that go? The ones about the office hours?
Yes, so there was some additional office hours that adjunct faculty were being paid for
And
to assist students during this time. So some adjunct faculty said that they did not receive those forms from their deans yet.
Okay.
Now I know that the forms are due at the end of the month. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why those forms weren't sent out yet. So just to put the information out there.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Classified Senate.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing all right, given our current situation at campus with our fires and everything else going on. Just a quick report. We have Classified Senate. We are excited about the USC partnership that we have. We spoke a little bit at length at our own meeting earlier in the month. So we're just excited what this is going to mean for our campus and what we're trying to do in terms of addressing the racial inequities we discussed not only Professional Development Day, but also in the statement that our previous Senate made in support of Black Lives Matter. That's all for me.
Thank you. Associated students.
All right, hi everyone. So just some quick updates from the associate students. Virtual Club Rush was really successful, and it was a great starter for all the students to be introduced to the clubs on campus. And many students have also said it was a great process. And we also have a few vacant board positions that we will be filling up in the next few weeks. And we are also finalizing our plans for Constitution Day, which will be occurring this Friday, September the 18th. And the event is going to include a review of the fundamental amendments, as well as a Q&A session. And likewise, we're still recruiting students into AS so that the student body can be adequately represented. And so we are looking for interested students who would like to contribute and be on our leadership team. So we are going to be releasing applications this week, but that's all my reports.
And can I just say props? I mean, the Associated Student, it's a kind of a new executive team here, handled a virtual Club Rush Week, virtual Welcome Week. And I think every faculty member in here can relate to the logistical difficulties that that poses. So to hear that it went well, props. All right, on to the next. Oh, and I'm being told also that Ms. Zhang also attends C&I as a student rep. I think that's kind of, I'm not used to seeing a student in C&I, so good job. Good stuff going on. Okay, and Management Association.
Yes, thank you for having me. Again, the biggest thing that we've been working on as of late from our all managers meeting and the MA specific is just really planning and preparing for when and if we do return to campus to make sure that, you know, the campus itself is prepared, but also the departments are properly ready for supporting students. We're trying to look at, again, a hybrid model, again, for those who are still partially remote or whatnot, trying to see how that would work best. Just really, again, planning for that. We know, as we were told last time, what winter will hold, but not sure what spring. So we want to plan for both face-to-face and remote. The MA emailed all the committee chairs last week, confirming all of the representation on the various college council and standing committees. I'd like to report that, again, all of our academic administrators finally got their contracts finalized. And as I'm assuming the academic senate knows the new process for performance evaluation, the administrators is also starting to carry out. So that's exciting news. The only other thing is, again, with just making sure that all of you as faculty know that the administration is here to support the college, you, our students, our classified. Just make sure however else we can do more, just please do not hesitate to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I'm told that Professor Altunji is double booked. And so to present on guided pathways, today we're going to have Professor Rose. And she has asked me to share a screen here, which I'm going to do now. But I've also put the URL in the chat. But you Google like career, or not Google, you can search on PCC's website, career community, I'm sure, and find the page that I'm displaying now. You're on, Professor Rose.
I do think that Professor Altunji showed up, but rather than put her on the spot when she just arrived, I'll go ahead and she can chime in on anything I forget. So I'm sure that you've all seen the emails announcing our Career Communities Social Justice Conference, which will be taking place this week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This is a part of our efforts to introduce the career community model to our students, which is a way of providing them with access to the information they need up front to make an informed choice about their career and their major, while supporting them in achieving their academic goals. We've learned from our partnership with our UCLA Department of Education research partners that many of our students, particularly our Latina, Latinx students, and African-American students, do not consider a whole range of lucrative careers because they do not see how they can work to improve their communities. So we have a number of career and social justice panels with alumni, faculty, and community members presenting on how different careers within all of the career communities can play a role in improving our students' communities. We've also partnered very closely with our Freeman Center for Career and Completion team, our Transfer Center, and our success coaches to provide a wide range of different sessions so that our students can learn about all the supports they need to be successful. And we're very, very excited about 2 sessions that we specifically want to invite faculty to. One of them is Dr. Cesar Cruz from Harvard University's presentation on Wednesday from 5 to 6 about the intersections between career, higher education, and social justice. And it's not on our schedule yet, but on Thursday from 12 to 1, we are inviting all of our campus employees to learn from our formerly incarcerated and system impacted students. So there will be a listening session from 12 to 1. Those are open to students as well, but those are very important for us to learn from. So thank you so much. And any questions you have, I'd be happy to answer, or Dr. Altunji can also weigh in.
Professor Chafee.
Hi, this is for Professor Rose. The page that Professor Hennis is scrolling on here for us to see, just really quickly, where, how do I get there?
We have a shortcut, which is pasadena.edu/CC event. So CC for career community. And we're going to keep that same for all future career community events. So pasadena.edu/CC event. Thank you, Matt, for putting it in the chat.
Okay, so we can click, so if we click on that, we can just go and see all of this stuff and get the details, right?
Yes, you can.
Awesome, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh, I did it twice because I tried to make it a hot link, but it wouldn't happen. So you'll have to copy paste that into a browser. Okay. Give me just a second. I got to get my share going on. Actually, I'm sharing, I think I have it here. And then there was a request made, I don't know if it was during the last Senate meeting or if it was during the retreat, but the request was that we include a response to Black Lives Matter as a standing agenda item. What I don't want to do is just read to you a litany of things that PCC is doing. I'd like to turn this agenda item into some sort of discussion, information sharing as time goes on. But absent that, right now, what happened is at CAPM last week, I included a question on the agenda. What is PCC doing in response to Black Lives Matter? And because this agenda request went out early, I got a heck of a response from the administration. And I've dropped a document into the chat, and it's a PDF. If you download that, you're going to see all the text that you're about to see in the PowerPoint. Administrative actions in response to Black Lives Matter. We've got the USC Equity Alliance. We are sending 60 employees, 30 of which are faculty, that will be attending sessions that occur monthly. Each session will be attended by different people, and the idea is that they will come back, share with the campus what they're learning from that. Several of you have signed up. This is, it shouldn't be news. A task force was convened at the end of summer, I believe it was, to review the campus police manual. And I was asked to provide names of 3 faculty members who would be on that task force. I believe the task force has 13 people on it. Maybe one of you who is on it can confirm that, but it represents groups from across campus. The administration, actually Dr. Andronis's office is sponsoring, oh, that should say 150 to 200, not 15 to 200, although that's accurate as well. 150 to 200 people, employees, so faculty, classified staff and managers, to attend the Amend webinar, which is on September 26th. You can also expect a reminder email tomorrow, probably today, for people who want to join in on that. I've received close to 40 responses from faculty saying, yeah, hey, please sign me up. I am pretty impressed with that. Um, the vision for success goals included closing the equity gap 100, or the achievement gap 100%. The college is looking at language to replace achievement gap because achievement gap puts the onus on the students. And we want to, well, the college, the administration wants to look at it as an obligation gap. That is to say, we still want parity in outcomes, but we want to look at it through the lens of we have an obligation to provide services to our students that work for them. As you know, I've invited you to purchase a book that the Academic Senate will reimburse you for. And we're going to do reading circles. I swear this was my original idea, and then I found out the managers are doing it too. I don't know what books they're doing, but they've got 5 books going on. So they are going to be taking a look at anti-racist literature as well. The executive committee, which meets, I don't know how often they meet, but once a month, they're going to include Black Lives Matter actions on their agenda to see what bubbles up, to see, to really connect the dots, and to see probably what still needs to be done and where things are on a monthly basis. And as we as a Senate Executive Committee meet with CAPM, which is the Council for Academic and Professional Matters, and it includes the superintendent president and several vice presidents, we'll be in on that sharing of information as well. Student Services now has a Black Student Services Council to identify needs to strengthen services for Black students. The Facilities Standing Committee, I believe I announced this before, is working on establishing a Black Student Success Center, identifying a location on campus, making sure that it will physically meet the needs of the students who will benefit from that. Dean Rebecca Cobb is studying a program designed to support Black women. We have Amend, which is designed to support Black men. Now this, I view it as a counterpart. I don't know if it is viewed as a counterpart, but it's, again, making sure that we don't have folks falling through the cracks. There must be more. And the administration will be talking to it with a lobbyist to get a budget line item for funding for a Black Student Success Center. So here's the deal. We have Ujima, which is funded. We've got Black Academia, which is, of which Ujima is part, but it doesn't have a line item in the budget like the pantry has and services for undocumented students have. And so that's kind of at a state level thing. And so there's advocacy going on to make sure that that has protected funding. PCC is partnered with, or PCC Northwest, partnered with Clark Atlanta University, a historical Black college or historical Black university, to develop a bachelor's completion program. And that's it on the administrative side. I tell you, they were prepared. And so we got to sit and listen for like 5 to 10 minutes while all of this stuff was read off to us. Actually not read off to us, it was just, the dialogue. When I requested the information, Dr. Indiajanas wanted to make it clear, and I agree with her, that this is not an administrative top-down thing, right? Our efforts to support our most vulnerable, our most underrepresented students, our most underserviced students, needs to happen in every corner of the campus. And so we also have a response from the Classified Senate, and if he is still here and wants to add to it, Ernesto Partida, can chime in, but we've got, they've been engaging in dialogues post Professional Development Day. The dialogues are around the needs and the roles that classified staff have. Working with Jason Robinson, the Director of Professional Development, to develop more professional development. Who knew professional development isn't just for faculty, right? And they are also engaging in the USC Equity Alliance partnership. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Partida.
I also just want to include that we play a role too in the committees that you mentioned. So just also having a role in there, whether that's an appointed role or that's a role that we felt classified staff member wanted to participate in. So there's some involvement there as well.
Cool, thank you. Professor Constantine.
Yes, part of the Adjunct Faculties Issues Committee's goals is to help increase the African American population from the student population from 3.8% to 15% as soon as possible. Do you know where this goal would align with one of these charges?
I don't know about the as soon as possible part, but I would imagine that having a codified Black Student Success Center can possibly work toward being the beginning of improving our reputation among the Black community, which can have the effect of drawing more Black students. The answer to the question though is, I don't know, but that's something that we can look into.
Thank you.
I will ask you to email me that so that I don't forget it. I could take the time to write it down, but I would rather not.
Okay, I will.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, folks, are there any other questions or comments about the list that I just read to you?
I've got a question, Matt.
Oh my gosh, that was loud. Yes.
Sorry, Professor Ennis. Do we know why currently the African-American, why the African-American population is so low at PCC? What are the factors or reasons why our African-American population is not higher at the college currently or has been for the past couple of years?
We don't know, or I personally do not know. One of the things that came out of the retreat 2 weeks ago was what I just alluded to. I was not aware PCC has a poor reputation among the Black community. I'm sure that is a contributing factor. We do know that Pasadena, in the population of Pasadena, we see around 10% of that population are Black or African Americans. As you just heard, PCC's student population only reflects 3.8 Black or African Americans. That though gets juxtaposed with the fact that like 23% of our students, or maybe it was 27, I don't remember the exact number, come from our district. And so we've got to also consider our surrounding areas and what our pool is essentially. But it's a long-winded way to say, I don't know. But that's one of the things that I intend moving forward this year that we will look at. I believe I have that included in our goals, and so we would address that toward the end of the meeting. Excellent question, though. Professor Constantine.
Yes, I don't want to take up too much time, but is this something we can get the admissions on board as well so that we could work together to achieve this goal in the next year?
I don't know if admissions is the right way to go. I'm thinking about, strategic marketing. I'm thinking about recruitment. I don't know that admissions has work that they do to bring people in. It seems maybe we call it admissions, right? But possibly. And it sounds to me like maybe, or it seems to me like maybe also that's something that Guided Pathways can address because they have that guided entry. But I mean, it's worth bringing up ideas, right? So here's what I'll say. We need to explore why this is a problem, right? And then knowing why it's a problem can help us to identify strategies, outreach, and recruitment. Okay. I'm being told in the chat that, everyone can see this one. A virtual Black Student Success Center will be open starting next week. Okay. Staffed by Ujima, Blackademia, academic coaches. Cool. Professor Cairo.
Thank you. One final question regarding this matter. Do we know the percentage of the African-American student body population in the colleges that are near PCC? How do we compare to them?
If you shoot me that question, I'll see what I can do to get an answer.
Thank you.
Yep. Now, folks, that was basically the administrative and classified rooms in our house. But you represent a room as well, right? The faculty. I did not, I decided not to send out an email to the faculty to find out, hey, what are you doing? I'm asking you to find out what's going on in your areas. And I'm asking you to do that so that you can share with us what's happening in your areas for the next Academic Senate meeting. I don't have the answers to every corner of the campus. I know what I'm told. I know what I am privy to through conversations and emails, but look, we have 420 full-time faculty, ballpark. We've got 700 to 800 part-time faculty. With 1,200 people, there have to be things going on that I don't know about. And so I'm asking you to find out what's going on in your areas, bring that information back to the Senate so that you can help me keep this agenda item on our agenda. Okay, it would be great if Senate reps could shoot me something ahead of time so I have kind of an idea of how much we have going on, so I know like kind of agenda timing. But I will also, I and the executive committee will also be working on turning the Because Black Lives Matter agenda item into something that becomes actionable. One of the things that we are looking at as an executive committee is, actually it's on the heels of what happened in student success, the Student Success Standing Committee. The co-chairs of that committee went through our student equity plan, which is about 25 pages, I think, 25, 30 pages, and identified all of the areas that might address the needs of our Black students. And what we're going to be looking at is how can we actualize that student equity plan, right? So that's going to be one of the overarching goals that we have as a Senate. But I'm asking you for information. Okay. And we will, I'll ask you to share that information in 2 weeks because the rest of our agenda is pretty full and I want to make sure that we get to stuff. If there is something pressing, go ahead and raise your hand now. Otherwise, we'll come back to this in 2 weeks. Okay. Then next up, Technology Master Plan. All right, we have 2 guest presenters here. We've got Professor Winter from BET and our Associate Vice President of Technology, Candace Jones. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can I share my screen, Matt?
Yep, I just have to figure out how to make that happen.
Okay.
I believe you can share it now.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Then I have to go to, there we go.
Yay, I got it.
Oh, cool. Oh, so everybody, folks, this is an information item, no action, but we're just going to hear about something that's in the works.
So thanks for having us, guys. My partner in crime at the District Technology Committee, my co-chair is Professor Jeff Winter, who's going to kick us off. He and I are going to go back and forth about just some information about the upcoming plan and how we hope to receive your input and have you all participate in this process.
There we are. So what we have to do is we are developing a technology master plan. And the whole idea is to provide a framework to implement all sorts of things, such as technology training, hardware, software, services, as it says here, all sorts of things. And the whole idea is, so this master plan is done in order to support not only the district's mission and our educational master plan, but also to be ready for the accreditation review when we have that. So our current plan ends at the end of this year, and we are hoping to get one done sometime at the beginning of next year, like January. So that is what we're going to be doing, and we're going to need everyone's help. Candace?
Thanks. So I just wanted to give a quick update of where we're at. So in June, the district established a partnership. So we work with a consultative firm to help us with the technology planning work. And some of our initial steps are just sort of what of our plan production process, how do we get our timelines and benchmarks set up, roles and responsibilities and outcomes. As a part of that process in the summertime, we've been trying to assess our current district technology plan, which ends at the end of this year, as well as conducting some external and internal environmental data scans to help inform the new draft of the plan. This is a quick high level of what that timeline looks like. So in summer, we started looking at some data and analysis in order to prepare for our fall engagement, which you all will get to help with in fall of 2020. So starting in mid-September through the end of October, we're going to be having surveys and focus groups and town halls. The District Technology Committee, of which you have participation, will also participate in this as a major milestone activity for that group. We plan to share some initial findings with the executive team, study session with our board of trustees, all of the shared governance groups. That gives this initial draft that takes all of the data that we've collected between September and November, and then puts a draft out, where then January through March, we will formally be coming back to you all to review, collecting feedback and making adjustments so that we can go to have formal board approval in the March 2021 timeframe. So what will happen is on the survey piece, so there should be a survey, there's going to be a survey that's going to come out by the end of this week that you all will receive based on your perspectives. So not only are we trying to benchmark and better understand your technology experiences on campus, we're also needing to do that. Uh-oh, I'm getting feedback. Is that you, Jeff? Okay. We're also needing to get feedback from you all about the move to remote operations. So our world is shifting. I wish I had a crystal ball to sort of say what technology and what our planning process should look like in 3 years. But we need to be very cognizant that we need to take into consideration not only when we're physically on campus, but also when we're in remote instruction. And so you all will be able to provide feedback as it relates to that in survey form. We've taken a lot of the questions from EDUCAUSE, which is the largest higher ed body for technology standards, so that we can benchmark our responses against other 2-year institutions as well as 4-year institutions. We are going to be hosting small focus groups individually for students, another focus group for faculty, staff, and subcommittees. And then we're going to host these really large town hall sessions, particularly for faculty, where we can really start to show some of the emerging trends in technology. So our goal is not to say, let's continue to do what we do today. It's also to be very aware and intentional about there are some new technologies out in the market space, like predictive analytics or things of that nature, that we may want to bring into our technology fold. And so it'll be sort of like this review process for you all to see some of that, and also to share back with us any emerging technology in your respective areas that we need to be mindful of or considerate of as we plan the next 5 years. And then, of course, taking feedback from our stakeholder groups, College Council, Academic Senate, Classified Management Association, and our Board of Trustees. So that's kind of like the data gathering process that'll help to inform the initial draft of the plan.
So what we are doing here is we're really asking for your input. We'd like to request that the Academic Senate appoint a small subcommittee that will participate in our focus group. So we're really looking for 6 to 10 people that can help us with this, with all the new technologies. We'd also want to encourage all faculty to take the survey. As Candace said, the survey is going to be coming out this week. We also want to invite all the faculty to participate in the large virtual town hall session, which is going to be in October, because the whole point of this is to hear what everyone is thinking and what we may need. Once we do return to the classroom, we're going to need all sorts of new technologies that'll be available, that want to see what's best in a classroom and what people are thinking about. Also, we're also having classes online, and there may be some new technologies for that. So we really need everyone's participation. And so as I said before, the draft of the plan should be done early 2021, and then we will present it again to the Academic Senate. Candace?
I think we're done, unless there are any questions.
Okay, can you go back one slide, please? So folks, I had this only as an information item for discussion, not discussion with possible action. My thought was immediately, oh, I'll take a motion to appoint this small subcommittee. But since that would be an action and this wasn't an action item, what I'm gonna ask is, and this is for you, Academic Senate representatives and alternates representing your division. If you would please shoot me an email indicating your willingness to participate in the focus group. And it doesn't have to just be members of the Academic Senate board. The Academic Senate is the entire faculty. And so it would be appropriate to go back and ask your constituents if they would be willing to participate in any of these, in this focus group. Do you have a sense of what the time commitment would be?
We're hoping to host 2 small focus group sessions, maybe 3 hours max between those 2 sessions.
And would you want the same participants in both focus groups?
We could actually host 2. That would be up to you all. I would say we're looking for not only folks that, I just don't want people to think that it has to be like technically savvy folks or people who are all into technology. Like, we would love to have a broad representation of, so if you came back and you had 20 names, we would just break it into multiple focus group sessions. That would be totally fine. But it's okay for people to volunteer who are not maybe up on the latest technology or just want to give us feedback from their perspective.
Okay, and I know that I've been asking the faculty, I've been asking a lot of the faculty lately. And so I know that this is one more ask, but folks, this is, last year we saw the educational master plan come through. We saw the facilities master plan come through. This is I think the third of the big 3, this technology master plan, right? So they all have to work together, but we really do need that input. Professor Chafee has a hand up.
Yeah, thank you. If one of my colleagues wished to participate in one of these focus groups, how would they go about doing that?
I'll ask them to email me.
Email you?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
I will gather that information and then send it off to Candace. And if we end up with 50 people who are interested, first I would have to collect myself from the floor. And then the Academic Senate, I think, would go through a process of appointing 6 to 10 people. Okay. And I think that this should just be a volunteer basis. I don't think that we're gonna bring it into the Senate like as an agenda item to approve or anything like that. Just I'll just work with the folks who indicate interest. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much. Is there anything further from the Senate board? All right, then we are on to the next item. And I don't remember what it is. Oh, yeah. Nothing big, just, spring status. I'll go ahead and share this, although there's not much to share. Whoops, that's not right. Oh, okay, well, there's nothing to share. Folks, spring status. Last meeting, Dr. Indijanis and then I both announced to you that winter is primarily online. We do not yet have an announcement about spring, however. Last week, Chancellor Oakley sent a letter to all of the community colleges in California, asking them all to sooner rather than later announce that spring will be primarily online. He's not telling us we have to have an online spring. He's in, oh dear, okay, I lost one of my monitors. He's encouraging, he's encouraging campuses to decide and announce quickly. The colleges, oh, and Glendale Community College has already announced that they're going to be online for spring. I'm sure they're not the only one. I know there was another one in the works, but I don't know if it was announced publicly, so I'm not going to share it. The college's executive committee met this morning, did not come to a final decision. They talked about it. I wasn't there. But the word that I'm hearing is probably expect an announcement this week. I haven't heard, again, the decision hasn't been made yet, but I brought this on the agenda as a possible, or a discussion and possible action, because I'd like us to weigh in. If it's only discussion, that's fine. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are, what your concerns are. I'll open the door. Number one, athletics. If we're primarily online, athletics takes a huge hit. And we know that that is a hit that is experienced disproportionately among different groups on our campus, right? The deal is, like, for instance, football. They can practice social distancing, but you can't get 60 football players on a bus to go travel and be socially distant, right? I mean, there are impacts, right? All athletics had been moved to spring. I don't know what this would mean for athletics. Another is there are some areas where students possibly cannot complete a degree or a certificate right now because they can't come to campus and finish their electronics class, right? So then those are some things it's a discussion item for later in the agenda, but theater, right? So all of these things exist in juxtaposition with the need not to have our campus be a disease hub, right? To be a collection place for this virus. Every city where a college campus has reconvened has seen an uptick in coronavirus cases, right? But if you'd like to weigh in on this at all, if you have any concerns, any comments, now is the time. I have a feeling that the silence is because we're all intelligent people. We can see the writing on the wall. That's my guess.
Matt, I think it's silence of acceptance. I think we all accept it and we know that's where we want to go. But I personally, my hospitality program with Chef Colleen Nano, we're firing it up. And this is a huge flat tire, but we are not going to stop. We want more butts in the seats. We want to push underrepresented. We want more Latinx. We want more Black people in there. And we are pushing for those individuals above all else, above all the others. But I think being incredibly creative, for instance, our safety and sanitation class through the National Restaurant Association, it has to be done face-to-face. And I said, I'm done with that. So I went and found 3 more companies that'll use Prometric, and they will test our students. Even though we'll run them through the regular, most highly rated certification of restaurant food and beverage sanitation, we can still test them through another company, and it's valid and it's reliable, and they can get their certification. And then when they finish with the pandemic, they can go right into those jobs into the industry. So it's being creative and getting around not just the safety sanitation, but other political forces, getting around them and not telling them and just making it happen. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Health Sciences had last week, they saw their successful face-to-face meeting convening. There are 3 areas on campus, I believe, where students are coming face-to-face. They're Health Sciences, Auto, and Welding. And, you know, folks are making do, right? And if there's not, oh, sorry, Professor Stubbard, go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. So, for example, our division, kinesiology, health and athletics, met numerous times and put together a return to play protocol, which has been delivered to administration. It's in place for a process. That process is ongoing everywhere in the state and the country. The ability to meet our curriculum, meet our concepts of activity-based or movement-based activity in our classes has all been addressed and is ready. So it's difficult when, you know, we watch what is happening even in our own city and in our own county, in our own region, successful participation to be painted with a broad brush that it can or cannot be. If you look on the CDC website, one of the safest things that could happen is swimming. Obviously, I'm extremely biased, but I didn't make that up. It's on the CDC website. And I understand everything. I've not been in a bubble. I understand everything that goes along with participation in sports and participation in movement-based activity. But I also watch on a regular basis the need for people to get out, including my own community, where when I have met probably 50 people I didn't even know lived around me because we're all walking at the same time. We're all doing things at the same time. And it's being done safely. It's being done with precautions and so on. And everybody is in that experience. And it's just difficult for us in movement-based activity where we know this is a necessary part of the health equity moving forward to be painted with a broad brush along with the concepts. For example, you use an example of football and 60 people being in a bus, right? So that's one example, but there are plenty of other movement-based activities that aren't 60 people in a bus. And to paint the entire movement-based program of kinesiology, which is what kinesiology means, health and athletics, referring to the health equity and competitions, it's difficult. We're on board as a community because we want to be a collaborative and collegial, but we also know that we could have a safe return to the classroom, our classrooms, and we've presented that, which has been accepted by the administration. So, you know, we would stand and ask for consideration that, you know, we not be put together with everything else, like there are plenty of examples that aren't good, but instead to consider the opportunities for those that can. The 3C2A divided up sports into contact and non-contact. That right there is an example. There are plenty of things in the theater that don't involve large groups. The biggest contest we have, uphill struggle we have, is gatherings. We've worked on that, and you've covered all the others. So I think I don't want to just sit here and have you say something like silence speaks for itself, because we're collaborative and we're collegial, but we also would like to have consideration that we can do this safely. It's being done safely. And we can do that with the health equity of our students in mind, and with the health equity of our faculty, staff, and administration in mind. And I just would like to see it considered like it's being done elsewhere in the country.
Thank you for rounding out the discussion. I do appreciate that. Professor Chafee.
Yes, I think that, I mean, chances are, my assumption is that we'll be teaching remotely again in the spring, simply because since it's a big unknown and we're have to make an announcement soon, one is sort of forced to err on the side of caution. However, it would be nice if perhaps we could allow the faculty during the spring some more access to the campus, the physical campus itself. It's not like there's going to be not holding classes on there, but access to our offices, perhaps access to the classrooms if you wanted to use the space for something. That would be nice. It would make, you know, it would actually be nice on a personal level to actually have to commute to work one day, maybe. You know, I'd like to actually get on my bike and get there. But it would be nice if you know, we're not going to be holding classes. There's not going to be 30 students crammed in a class. But if I could use a classroom from time to time, if I could be in my office for a bit, that would be nice. I'd like to see that happen, maybe.
Thank you. Are there any other thoughts or comments? Any other bikers? Ms. Zhang.
I just wanted to put out that if we are going to be making spring online, which I think is highly likely at this point, to just keep in mind that we do have a Wi-Fi lot, which may not be very, I think right now a lot of students have come up to me saying that it might be too hot, not a lot of people are using it. And I was thinking maybe there could be better ways to go about the Wi-Fi lot, as well as I don't know if I can ask this question, but if we do happen to have spring online, what I know that this year you guys delayed the graduation until the next year, and I was wondering what they were going to be doing for graduation as well.
I wrote it down as a piece of information that I will gather, which is another way to say I do not know.
Thank you.
I did just receive an email that Long Beach City College, it's the one I was not sure if they were going public, has announced they are primarily online in spring. I think that the key word is primarily, right? And you know, it was part of the conversation that I've been having, or the executive committee has been having with the administration, is trying to thoughtfully identify what areas might be able to do face-to-face. So, you know, that is part of the conversation. I think that what Professor Stoddard said speaks to that, right? Not painting it with a broad stroke. And I'm getting in the chat, CSUs have stated they'll be primarily online. I think UCs were on the brink of making that decision as well. But you know, for the letter from Chancellor Oakley was really for planning purposes, you know. Professor Stoddard.
Question or a comment and a question. So I think the word primarily is a good word. I totally understand. We've changed our paradigm on teaching and learning and meeting. We can do things so more efficiently. And I think primarily is a good word. But the question is, where do we give the opportunity to give input so that those of us who are ready to go back in smaller gatherings and to get involved in the health equity and demonstrate what we can do so that we can return to campus in a safe way that everybody, I mean, the question is, where is my opportunity to have a voice? It's been 6 months. I speak with my colleagues, I speak with my dean, and then I just feel like the I'm in a wilderness where I've screamed, but no one's hearing me. And I want to know, where can I be heard?
Partially through me. I've been taking some notes here. The executive committee has a meeting with the vice president of instruction tomorrow. I will be bringing this up with him. Next week, I have a one-on-one with the superintendent president. I will be bringing this up with her. She is the vice president of the State Athletic Association. And so the athletics, when we have those conversations, athletics comes up almost every time because it's near and dear to her as well. But I would invite you to communicate with me via email. I will do the best I can to represent your voice. I mean, that's.
Can I just respond to that?
It's part of my function with the administration is to represent you. But yes,
thank you, and I will. So, and I appreciate that. And so my concern is that the issue is the safe return and the health equity of everybody on campus, administration, classified, all of our people in facility services. They're my biggest concern. And I feel like, I just feel like it's important to look at it as in a big way, not specifically, yes, a classroom. I also teach theory classes. I'm teaching nutrition. I'm teaching intro to kinesiology. I see no reason why that can't be online, none whatsoever. I think it would be better in person. But when it comes to movement-based activities and skilled trades in our for example, to get an auto tech, you have to change the oil. You can't do that remotely. Our various, and I know that everybody's here aware of it. I'm not trying to insult anyone with simple points, but my point is, where can that voice be heard? And I heard that it's going to come through you, and believe me, I will respond with an email. And I appreciate the opportunity and answering the question. Thanks.
Sure, but I also want to frame this in the larger picture. So part of what the administration of the college is dealing with is that we are subject to the Los Angeles County Department of Health. And right now, their rules are that we can only bring students to campus in programs where jobs are considered to be essential, right? And I mean, essential for an individual's well-being is one thing, but essential for the economy, is kind of a different thing. So to an extent, some of those decisions have been made for us for this term, but I don't say that that's going to carry through to future terms, right? But there's a lot at play is the point there.
And I don't mean this to be a conversation with you, Matt. So competitions are completely different than movement-based activity and learning theater and playing a piano. And there's so many things that can be done that aren't a group of 35 people according to the normal closing number in a classroom learning a specific topic. And so to paint kinesiology with competitions, you're right. And I'm on multiple task force and
I'm going to interrupt now because of the time, but also because I'm not talking about competitions. I'm talking about that the college was only allowed to bring students on campus in very special cases.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's going to be true going forward. So while I will do what I can to represent your voice, there could be larger factors at play that either preclude or support, right, what it is that you're talking about. We are over time for this item. We were over time 2 minutes ago. And so if there is a motion to extend, then we can entertain that.
I move we extend.
Do you want to give by how much, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes,
please.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion to extend? I'll need you to either to verbalize it or.
Sure.
Oh, I see Professor Wilbur's hand up. And so we'll go ahead and unless there is an objection, by unanimous consent, we will extend. And the reason I needed to do that was because we have Professor Chafee and then Professor Seropian and then Professor Larson.
Yeah, so I'll make this quick because we got limited time. And I'm sure the answer to this is a room full of laughter, but how impossible would it be to sort of perhaps plan for the miracle that arrives and change our mind into having perhaps a less remote spring if there's a miracle that suddenly happens, say, in January?
Oh, I think once the decision's made, it's going to be done. Like, I don't think that once the decision is made and announced, that we would go back and change that.
Thank you.
That's an assumption, but I can find that out. Okay, Professor Soropian. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Juni raised his hand. Unless anybody objects, we're going to hear from somebody not on the Senate because he may have an answer that I don't. Okay, Dr. Juni.
Yeah, so if it's okay, I can comment on that question, Lyman. The problem really is in building the schedule. So if we build a schedule that's primarily online, and then it goes live, and then a miracle happens, as you said, and things look better, it's really difficult to go from online to face because now you have to figure out rooms to put everything. And so it's actually easier to go from face to online than it is from online face to face from the standpoint of scheduling. And so it's really that's why we need to figure this out and be careful in figuring it out, because it's really, once we decide we're going to be primarily online, it will be very difficult to go the opposite direction. So we want to make sure that we do it right.
And
thank you.
I've also got students who are in Asia right now. It would be, they'd have to come to the United States. Professor Larson.
Oh, yeah, I just kind of want to echo what Terry was saying.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did I skip past?
Oh, go ahead, Talene.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Talene. You were first.
It's Talene.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Matt. One thing I just want to bring to the attention is I know that as we're discussing perhaps coming back, again, I don't know if it'll happen in the spring, but as we're moving forward, to sort of keep in mind the nature of counselors as well. As we're faculty, it's a little different, the nature of our work. If any of you have been in the L building, our offices, there is no 6 feet, ventilation, the nature of our work. So just to consider, hoping the administration is considering that when we do come back. Also, our roles really bring in people that are not current PCC students. We see perspectives all the time. They don't even have to be, they don't have to apply to come in. So there's the notion of open access. And so as administration is considering opening up doors, to also keep us in mind when considering faculty, as well as numerous other classifications. So just wanted to represent us and perhaps librarians as well.
I think what we're hearing is that there is a widespread impact, right?
Yeah.
It affects different people in different ways, right? Not trying to diminish any of that, but really to underscore. Professor Larson.
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in a little bit about how this has affected performing arts. As you can all imagine, theater, music, dance have been sort of profoundly affected by this crisis. I sort of want to echo what Terry's saying, and I'll try to be brief, and what the gentleman from Culinary Arts is saying. We're trying to adapt our program to get by as best we can. We've also worked on protocols to ensure distancing and social distancing. And, unfortunately, we didn't make the essential list last fall. But we are struggling out there, and I just, feel sometime, as Terry mentioned, you're kind of yelling into the wind in terms of getting any feedback as to what happened. I certainly agree that safety and health should be a #1 priority after having said all of that. So just wanted to let it be known.
Thank you. Professor Wilbur. We have 30 seconds.
I'm in no hurry to get back sooner than we're supposed to. I want to come back when it's safe, but I think it's worth citing an edsource.org article that came out this weekend that cites an LA Times article, which cites the US Census report that says nearly 3/4 of 18 to 29-year-olds are reporting that they're feeling down, hopeless, or depressed, and California colleges are attempting to respond. And so in terms of health, that's part of the health that we need to be concerned with.
Point taken, yeah. Okay. I don't feel like I want to push you into like a motion or a recommendation to the administration. If somebody wanted to make one, I wouldn't stop you. This is discussion and possible action, but what I intend to do is take what I just heard, and I told the superintendent president I would follow up with her after today's meeting. I will share with her the concerns that I've just heard. Okay. I really appreciate you engaging in this dialogue, hearing different perspectives. It is not cut and dried. And so thank you. With that, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. I don't remember what it is either. Oh, yeah, nothing big. It's the mass communication. Why am I out of order here? This is totally out of order. It is the electronic communication BP and AP. We have with us again, Associate Vice President of Technology, Candace Jones. And I think I was possibly remiss when I introduced this the last time. And so I'm going to take a moment to introduce this. When the email chain was going around in spring, I reached out to, I'll say this knowing full well, this is not a 10+1 issue. It is not one of the academic and professional matters, but sometimes the administration indulges me in having conversations that are not under the academic senate's purview. This was one of those times. I had a conversation first with the Vice President of Human Resources, Bob Blazinski, and then reached out to Vice President Jones and asked, hey, is there an AP that we can do, or is there something that can happen? Her response was, hey, I happen to have been working on this. And then she shot me a copy of what she had been working on. That was then augmented. There was a conversation that occurred, a meeting that occurred between myself, Candace, and I believe Alex Buckelheide was there. And we talked about the implications. We talked about where some of this came from, which was the University of Oregon State University, excuse me. And let me be very, very clear that the impetus for my wanting to take action here had absolutely nothing to do with the original emails that were sent out. They had to do with the fallout that happened afterwards. And I'll tell you, the first few emails that came through, I was feeling good. Our campus was in solidarity. I agreed with what was coming through in the emails. And then there were emails with which I didn't agree. And then that degenerated into electronic yelling matches that were pervading all of our emails. And we couldn't stop it. We couldn't opt out of it. There was nothing we could do. We were victims. We were held hostage by these emails. It's the reply alls that I intended to address with this. It was not about silencing. It wasn't about the initial emails. And as Vice President Jones is about to tell you, there have been some changes made since you saw this 2 weeks ago that I think secure for you the knowledge that those initial emails, even under this new proposed AP, would still have gone out. I received an assurance from Alex Buckelheide. Yes, I would have sent those emails out. So with that said, I will now pass it off to Vice President Jones.
Thanks, Matt. I just want to say two things up front. One is I really do appreciate and value the input from Academic Senate. I think hearing and having things sort of sit on you for a minute and then reflecting and figuring out how we can make adjustments, I think is a good thing. I do want to clarify 2 points in advance and then describe where the areas that we made some improvements. The 2 points are simply this, that email really is an administrative system, very much like Banner or Kronos or other tools. that are in place to support the business of the college. And because email, PCC email is not private, it's owned by the college and it's not personal, email then becomes discoverable when we talk about litigation or subpoenas. And so email's really not intended, nor is it really a method for back and forth discussion. I do think that there are some appropriate tools that can greatly facilitate this need, and I'd be happy, more than happy, to explore any technical options or solutions with Academic Senate faculty to put in place an unmoderated forum for discussion, because I think that there are some really, really great options. The second point that I'd like to just raise is really it's a focus question that as I started to think about this process and benchmark us against other institutions, is this question. The focus question is this: can anyone at PCC send a message to all of PCC on any topic they desire at any time? So an example of that is if I have a car to sell and I thought, oh, wow, I have a captive audience here, I'm going to sell my car and send some pictures out and hope for the best. Can that happen? And the answer to that question is no, not under this AP, because we are aligning to best practices in higher education. But having all said that, what I took from heart from the conversation was there was a concern made about, well, who would vet or decide, or, you know, which messages go and which messages don't go. And that moved me. I heard it. The intent is to keep the messages aligned with the standards for broad distribution that are sent out by authorized areas. There's no real hierarchy intended. You don't have to go to your boss or your boss's boss to ask one of those areas to send a message on your behalf. So what we tried to do is really be focused on the standard piece, that email, that mass emails to be sent out to, it should be relevant to a broad group of people, that it pertains to the majority of the recipients, it's critical or time sensitive, and meets one of these standards. So the new edition standard that is covered here is that it promotes, if that message promotes social justice or the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is included as a standard to be sent out as a broad message to the community. The additional piece that was added that I wanted to be cognizant of is that we are hiring a new Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. So I wanted to make sure that that person who is an advocate, a champion for these issues on this campus is also added as an authorized sender to any one of these groups. And so the question around last week, I think Dr. Francoso said, well, how would one of the affinity groups send out a message to the entire campus community? Well, they would connect with the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office, propose that message, and that person would send that message out on the affinity group's behalf. So that's what I've taken in terms to heart, at least clarifying the intent of the AP, as well as providing a mechanism and an avenue to ensure that messages like the resolutions are always passed forward for large, broad group consumption.
Thank you, Vice President Jones. So I would like to open the floor to a motion so that we can have some discussion. Professor Winter.
Yeah, I'd like to move to adopt this AP 3721 with the adjustments.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second that motion, Lindsay Ruiz.
Professor Ruiz. Okay, so moved by Professor Winter, seconded by Professor Ruiz. Is there any discussion? Professor Lopez.
Thank you. I just had a question about, I do like the new addition as far as promoting diversity and equity. My question is, with that, again, if we had something that we wanted to send out to the campus, will we still have to go through those other layers in order to get that out, even though it meets that criteria. We would still have to go through, and then it would be up to them to decide whether or not it meets that criteria.
Great question, Dr. Lopez. So the authorized units are not intended to be a hierarchy in and of itself. So you don't have to go through any one of those. So if you had a message on behalf of TABE, which would be a great example, you would simply send that straight to the Chief Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Officer for distribution. There's no one else that has to approve that. If that entity, that authorized unit, believes it meets the standards, which are clearly laid out in the AP, they would send that on your behalf.
Okay, I have time to ask another question. I don't want to overdo it, President Hennis, so help me with this. I have another question, which was, again, with the email that I sent out, it was about students. If you read it, it was about students and resources that were available to students. How does that, it would still have to go through an approval? Because I mean, it's at the end of the day, it is being approved by someone else.
So the way that you could again go to the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, and they are authorized to send to all students, all faculty, or all staff. And so I guess if the intention is the approval process that person would go, what they're going to do is look at the AP. Is the message pertaining to all participants or most participants? You know, is it critical in time nature? And does it meet these standards? And based on your question, it would meet those standards. The resolution would have met those standards. So it would go out.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, we've just run out of time, but we need an extension.
I motion to extend 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, so moved by Professor Ruiz, seconded by Professor Lopez. If there is no objection, we will extend by 5 minutes by unanimous consent. I didn't see any new hands pop up. We do have 3 hands. Were you satisfied with that exchange, Dr. Lopez?
Well, I still have trouble with the going through the approval process, and I'm not clear on how this is in a hierarchy if I still have to get approval to send something out.
That's what my comment is on as well.
Sorry. It does.
No.
It does sound like it's at the discretion of whoever gets it and whoever's desk it lands on. And I'll go ahead and let others participate, but thank you for indulging me.
Thank you. Professor Wilberg.
Yeah, we're relying on the discretion of everybody on campus and everybody that's on that email list. And as we could see from that last email, I don't know that we can always trust that. We don't always get things that we fully support. And to those ends, I wonder if we're putting a lot of work on the plate of our pending Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. And I would ask, is one of the job qualifications for Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer that they have some legal training? Would this be an attorney that we are hiring, or would they have access to legal counsel? So it sounds like this is the sort of job for an attorney based on our conversation here.
I'd like to say that the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer is not the only one on this list. And I think we've all seen this week or last week messages from Alex Buckelhide that actually were originated by Professor Rhodes because they impacted a large group of people, right? So there are various offices that are able to send out messages to the entire faculty or to the entire campus. I sent out messages to you all because you're faculty and you're the ones that I work with directly, right? But if I needed to send something out to the entire campus, it depends on what the topic is, but it would go through Alex Buckelhide or one of these other offices, right? But I don't know if Vice President Jones wants to speak to that before we move on to the next individual.
That's correct. Any one of these authorized units could send out a message on the behalf. I don't necessarily see it as sort of like an approval process. I recognize that it feels like that, but they are obligated to meet the standard of the AP, which is clearly laid out which messages meet that condition and which messages don't.
Can I follow up?
Yeah, quickly.
Your comment earlier was nailed it, like a used car. a used car notice does not need to go out to the rest of the campus. And we are relying on the discretion of the people that use those lists to not send stuff like that out. And we've already seen that we can't rely on the discretion of 100% of the people on that list to follow those rules.
This is the perfect segue. I think I'm next. Matt, am I next?
You are not, but Professor Professor Baja's potty mouth.
Sorry.
I'm going to mute you until you're ready here. Professor Baja.
Can you hear me?
Baja.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go against the car approval process because it makes us look like we're not smart enough to decide what we're supposed to post. I don't agree with that analogy for us. My question actually is, this is truly an approval process. So if, for example, I send that to the chief diversity officer and he or she says no, can I then have to forward that to the office of the president, or what happens? Or do I just send to all 6 of them and hope one of them says yes, and then that's it? I can say one of them said yes, and that's fine with me.
So there is a level of trust that's needed, right? I mean, so there is an assumption that people are going to just say no, and I don't lead with that. I sort of take the value at where it's at, which is we have a clear understanding of what standards meet the criteria and a method by which to send those things out. Now, if we got into a situation where that wasn't the case, I would want that raised. We should have a conversation. This would be a great forum to do so. But I think we're leading with that those messages would not go through. And I would ask that we do the opposite and lead with that we're going to trust that those messages are going to go out because people are committed to a host of things that are happening on this campus, which is continuously exhibited every week by Mr. Buckelhide.
Professor Ruiz.
Okay, I promise not to potty mouth. I'm so sorry. I wanted to offer my own personal experience with this. This was maybe 3 years ago. I myself, and I consider myself a very, rational, smart individual. I sent an email to the entire campus. And it was something that, I don't know if you remember this, it was about the CDC. I was trying to get old cell phones from people. Like, does anybody remember this? To give me, donate your old cell phones to the Child Development Center. And I got an email from Dr. Junie. Oh, Jeff remembers. And I got an email from Dr. Junie that was like, what are you doing? You crazy lady, you cannot email the whole campus. And I realized it wasn't as much the message that he was not happy with, which he didn't agree with that either. But it was just the whole, how dare you, and I realized, yeah, that was probably not the best way. And it would have helped me if there had been another level. And so, then I had to send an email that was an apologetic, I'm so sorry, please excuse me, to the entire campus again. And it could have been a lot less painful. And so I agree that it is helpful to have just, one person seeing this before it goes out, and a person who can recognize, who might see this and take offense to it, and then not necessarily turn it down, but maybe seek counsel from another person making similar decisions. So I just wanted to share that with you because I feel like I thought it was important, and I realized it really wasn't. You really didn't need to get that from me in that way. So I apologize a second time for that email.
Thank you. Professor Francoso.
Yeah, I just want to echo Professor Baja's question in relationship to what if I construct an email that I think meets all standards of the AP, but then the Chief Diversity Officer says no, then do I go to Buckelhide and he says yes? Or then what if all 6 of them or whoever, many of them say no, then do I have a recourse to be able to get the email sent out to the whole to the whole population? And I understand the levels of trust and that needs to be important, but when we've been working trying to empower and promote kind of visibility of hyper marginalized students, and then we see some actions by administrators and other folks that that we might view as not being beneficial to the larger Black student population, for example. Like, it's hard for us to trust folks when we've seen them historically do things that us as professors think are negligible and, you know, insulting to faculty of color. So it's really hard for us to develop those levels of trust, and it'd be great if it was there, but I think we would still need a way to figure out, well, how do I get my message across if all 6 levels or however many levels are saying no?
Well, it's one level, right? You'd ask one person to send it up, but your point is taken. I'm being told we're out of time again on this item. Now, folks, you can extend, but we have some other important things that we need to get to on this agenda.
Matt, can I get to my comment?
Motion to extend by 10 minutes.
Second.
We can do 5 because the first extension was 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
So we can do 5.
Second.
And parliamentarian, am I right on that? If the original item was 10 minutes, but a first extension was 5, a second can be 5. I'm getting a yes. Okay, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Professor Lopez, seconded by Professor Constantine. Unless there is an objection, we will approve by unanimous consent. I don't see any new hands. Professor Constantine, the floor is yours.
Yes, I do want to preface my comments by saying that Mrs. Candace Jones has done a wonderful job since she's been with us at Pasadena City College. I think the timing of this is off. This issue came about when someone made a statement in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and then you had racist faculty at Pasadena City College responding to say that it didn't warrant attention. And if these restrictions were in place at that time, we would have never known that we are walking around racist faculty at Pasadena City College. And I think the timing of it is what's off. I understand where the purpose of the document, what it's trying to achieve. But during this time where we're seeing our voices being marginalized and we're not allowed to be outspoken, I think the timing of it is what's a bit off. And so I would encourage a conversation maybe sometime in the future. But right now, I think we need to hear as much input from faculty, staff, students, everyone at PCC for us to find the solutions that we're looking for to reduce the equity gaps, to help African-American students achieve more. These are the uncomfortable conversations that needs to happen for us to see that progress. So respectfully, I will urge senators to vote against the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to respond or just move on to the next?
I would just say that the method by which we would have those conversations is via like a threaded discussion. There are other alternative ways to have and to meet exactly what you're looking for. It's just not an email.
And when we
could provide that.
When the 3 of us had that conversation, Candace actually asked, how would this happen? How could we have a forum? And I said, hey, create a Canvas shell, enroll everybody in campus into the Canvas shell, discussion there. If folks want to opt out, they can opt out using existing resources, right? Professor Molnarek.
I wanted to thank Professor Francoso for bringing up that larger historical context, and Professor Constantine for reminding us that we need to know who the racists are. In addressing the policies with faculty in my area, they were very vocal and very uniform in opposition to this idea. I don't want to run through pages and pages of email, but a core part of this basically was the chilling effect this would have on thinking and communication. That if we knew that we needed to get approval to discuss an idea, to disseminate an idea, that might quash a lot of those ideas before they even get a chance to get out there. Lastly, the hypothetical that's been talked out a couple of times about someone posting a car for sale. In the 15 years that I've been here, I've literally never seen that happen. And if something like what Professor Ruiz did To me, that looks like a totally legitimate use of this system. You're trying to do something to benefit a portion of the campus, and you're trying to draw on the resources of the larger campus. So I'm not sure what the problem is with that, but thank you.
Thank you, Professor Walker. Unless, did you want to?
Hi.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you
yes,
hear me okay?
We can.
If you hear an echo, I'm in the bathroom hiding from my children. But just really quick, just to reiterate what I said last meeting and what others have said, the timing is off. I appreciate what Candace is doing. It's an amazing job and a challenging job. But at the same time, exactly what Professor Ruiz was saying about, posting about the phones or whatever. The system was not shut down. I've seen people post things that ripped into the campus, just really anarchist stuff. The email was not shut down. So when it comes to bringing light to events that is harming the most marginalized population of students or community on campus, then have it shut down, it's just a bad PR look. I'm just saying, it just looks weird and feels weird. And Candace, I know that you weren't here for those other emails. And again, appreciate what you're doing, but just to give you some context about why some of us are not really feeling how this is being rolled out. I just know for a fact that if Dr. Lopez's email was on some other thing, it would not have gotten the response and all the benefits that our campus is experiencing right now. We've gotten so much out of that email, and I'm sorry if I sound emotional, but so much good has come out of it. And if something like that was suppressed, and I know suppressed is a harsh word, forgive me, if we would have had to wait in this sense, people are dying. She waited so many weeks for higher ups to respond, and they didn't. And so my only concern is that if there's something to the fact that we don't minimize it to a car sale, or we don't say, let's shove it into a canvas, there are certain things that need to be out. I don't know how to do that. I thought the way that it was done appropriate, very professional. Again, it's just a bad look. How we solve it, I know that's what we're doing now. So that was my only comment.
Thank you. And we are at time because our last extension was it was 6 minutes ago. So I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. We've had a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. The motion is to approve AP and BP 3720 and AP 3721. And so I'll ask Dr. Lopez to do a roll call vote. Are you prepared for a roll call vote at the moment?
I am.
Cool.
Okay. At least I was. Here we go.
So you'll hear her say names in alphabetical order according to your last name. So please unmic yourself in anticipation, and she will forego saying professor and just give your last name, and you give an aye, a nay, or an abstain.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Professor Hennis, I actually pulled up the roster instead of the roll call vote. But I can still use that. It just won't be in the same order.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Constantine.
Nay.
Indoor.
Abstain.
Jerome.
Nay.
What was that?
Nay.
Thank you.
Pierce.
Nay.
Allen.
Abstain.
Winter.
Yes.
Keen.
Yes.
Ayers. Baja.
Nay.
Pangan. Serapian. Serapian, Walker,
Abstain.
Malneric,
Nay.
Swaminathan,
No.
Rodriguez,
Abstain.
Vento, Stoddard,
No.
Garson.
Did you say Larson?
I said Garson, Jennifer Garson.
Sorry.
That's okay. Ruiz,
Abstain.
Simon,
Nay.
Castro,
Nay.
Chafee,
No.
Leon,
No.
Nordstrom,
Abstain.
Garcia, Hidalgo, Bauer,
Nay.
Foster,
Nay.
Vendresco,
Nay.
Larson,
No.
Keitel, Keitel, Fiebig, Francoso,
No.
Alvarado, Rigon,
I think we're in the alternates now.
I don't have Rigon as an alternate.
Nay.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
Nay.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Jaramillo,
Nay.
Rose,
No.
Lopez, no. The noes have it.
Let's, for the record, we need Seropian and Wilbur.
Apologies, I had a tech issue. No.
Thank you.
And Wilbur votes no.
Okay. That motion fails. Okay, as I did mention, this is not actually a 10+1 issue, but we do get to be involved in collegial consultation. And so part of what I asked at Kaplan this week was, what happens if this vote fails? And the response was, the conversation will continue. So expect this conversation to continue. Thank you all again. Thank you for being here, Vice President Jones. And we're on to the next item. I hope this goes fast because we really need to get to the one after it. The next item is, it's the minutes. So I was represented in the minutes as having referred to spring of 2020, spring of 2021. And I went back and listened to the recording, and that was actually erroneous. So I did double check with Professor Wilbur. I don't know if you wanted to chime in. Yeah.
Yes, please. So I checked the meeting itself, and what I noticed was, and I'm digging for my notes as the notes went away when I changed the screen.
If we can limit the conversation to just what I had said.
Yes, what you said was winter 2021, or I'm sorry, spring of 22. So that's what you said, 2021 to 2022 calendar. It was brought up the 21 spring calendar, but that wasn't you. So somewhere along the line when it was brought up, I think that's how it ended up in the notes. But Kenneth did indeed stick to spring 2021 and a January 10 start date for spring 2021. So what
I I think you meant to say that I did say January 10 for 2022.
Oh, sorry, January 10 for 2022. Somebody else brought up 2021, and then that's what got incorporated into the notes. But you were consistent throughout. I can affirm that. I watched the meeting 3 or 4 times now. That's me and my colleagues. We all got our own wires crossed, and then that's what fouled me up, and that's why I agree with the notes. But yes, I can vouch for the fact that President Hennis stuck to the 2021-2022.
Okay, thank you. So can we have a motion to approve to amend the previously approved minutes? So, the motion would basically be to approve the minutes as they are on your screen now.
I move to approve the minutes as they are now.
Thank you. Moved by Professor Wilbur, seconded by Professor Endor. Is there any discussion on the previously approved minutes? Okay, can we approve these by unanimous consent? If there are no objections, we will do so. Is your hand up because there's an objection, Professor Winter?
No, I was trying to second it.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you. Then those minutes are approved by unanimous consent, and the record will correctly reflect what I correctly stated. Thank you. Now, next up is what I really wanted to get. Oh, geez. Next up, we have consent item C, which is to approve people to committees. And we have it here. It's multiple places, but here we go. I do need to say that 1B should be removed. That was my mistake for including Stephanie Marshall and FCOE, but she should be there for Faculty Development Committee. And so can I have a motion to amend to strike K1B?
Yeah, I so move.
Okay, moved by Professor Chafee. Is there a second to that motion? Second. I saw a hand and I heard a voice. I'm going to go with the voice, Professor Endor. I'll get you next time, Professor Winter. Then by unanimous consent, unless there is an objection, we will approve, we will strike K1B. And then I'd like to have a motion to approve K1 and 2.
Yeah, I move that too.
Okay, Professor Chafee, thank you. And then is there a second to approve K1 and 2?
Second.
I didn't know, I don't know. No, it was Professor Simon, thank you. Okay, is there an objection to approving those? All right, thank you. Those are approved. And then the next thing is, I'm trying to go through this so fast because we have the accreditation presentation here. You received last week, but then again today, manager evaluations. I really apologize for the 2-day turnaround. It is not what I had hoped for. I thought we had till the end of October. There was reference made earlier in this meeting to a new process. It's actually following the existing AP. And I asked, hey, the Senate's supposed to provide names, and for manager evaluations, we were supposed to provide 8 faculty members per manager. And I received a list of 23 managers and a deadline of Tuesday. And this one does have the correction, if that's what you're raising your hand for. And so this varies from what you got in the packet, and the differences are highlighted. Here's what happened. Y'all talked to the people in your areas. You came up with 8 people per manager or some subset thereof. And these are the names that we're going to put forth to evaluate our managers. I'm sure that this will happen with the deans. It may be a different story for the vice presidents. I am not sure. To tell you the truth, this is the first time that I have been involved in this process. I want to say thank you. In 2 days, y'all gave me over 140 names. We had 184 to fill. I'm going to call this a win. I was really overwhelmed by y'all's response in 2 days on this. If I had it to do again, I'd ask for the list in August. Anyway, there's a hand up, Professor Stoddard.
Except for the fact that it was an excellent response and that we can turn that around. Can we have an explanation why we were only given 48 hours?
I can give you a partial explanation. I'll try to give you the medium version of the story. Last year, when this was brought to my attention, it was after the managers had been evaluated. I said, hey, we should follow the AP. The response was the AP should be changed. This year, I looked at the AP and saw that the Academic Senate is to provide 8 names, so is the Classified Senate, by the end of October. And so I had a conversation with one vice president who referred me to the vice president of HR. It sounded like it was going to go my way. So I emailed the vice president of HR and said, hey, this is a request that the AP be followed. I'd like the Academic Senate to be able to provide names. He said, okay, sure. Much to my surprise, I thought it was going to be a battle. And so I asked for the list and he said, okay, here's the list. I need the names by Tuesday. It was a timeline that had already been agreed upon. I don't think that the Academic Senate was going to be looped in. At that point, I had 2 options. This is an AP that has not been followed to my knowledge to this point. At that point, I had 2 options. I could push back and say, no, I want more time, or I could take that as the victory and then ask you all for support in this. I went with the second one. Professor Stoddard.
Thank you very much for your explanation. It's very much appreciated. But there are 2 things that I heard in there that concern me. The first quote is, this is an AP that has never been followed.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, sorry. I'll rephrase it. I apologize for not quoting you correctly.
Okay.
To your knowledge, this AP has not been followed. That concerns me. I don't know if any other senators here are concerned about this, but that concerns me. I think that deserves an explanation. The second thing I heard was that when we ask to follow an AP that's passed by the Board of Trustees and we're obligated to follow, that an employee can say that needs to be changed, we're not going to follow it. To be glib, that you get pulled over for going 65 and a 55, and you say to the person pulling you over, that speed limit should be changed. It's not going to change the outcome. And I am taken aback that we are in this position. And where does the authority come that we don't follow APs? Where does the authority come that puts you, Matt, in a bind for a faculty?
You are bringing up good points. The agenda item is to approve these people. You're bringing up good points. I will say that an administrative procedure is approved by College Council, not by the Board of Trustees, which it's splitting hairs. It's not to the heart of what you were saying. This is the first time that this process has occurred under the current president, the superintendent president. I have a feeling that to what you said, my bringing up this has not been followed. And then the conversation with the first vice president that I had was, here are reasons that it should be changed. I said, those are all reasons that you would bring up if you were going to change this AP. None of these are reasons not to follow the current AP. The response eventually was, here, give us some names. I dropped the ball last year. I almost dropped the ball this year. We should have been looped in. It's on the people who are either following or not following the APs. Like, it's different entities in different areas, right? If CNI makes a decision that violates the AP, then it's the curriculum and instruction committee that has decided not to do it. In this case, it's the administration of the college, but what they decided to do was honor my request. And so I basically did my job as the Senate president to stand up for the faculty and say, we need a voice in this. Whether I should have had to do that or not, I mean, that's a different issue, but your point is taken. And probably something for a future discussion. Right, but I'll try to find out why it wasn't planned to be followed. I don't know that it wasn't planned to be followed. I'll try to find out why I hadn't been notified ahead of time.
Matt, may I please? So I think you've maybe missed the heart of what I had to say. I'm defending you. I don't think it's appropriate that you have to wiggle like you just did and explain like you just did. I feel that it is, and I'm defending you and faculty that we shouldn't have to pass a resolution, that we should follow the rules, and that legislating behavior is one of the things I'm vehemently opposed to. And I just want to correct you on one thing. This is BP 7150. It's a board policy, and an AP 7150. That's the AP, but it's a board policy. Our board of trustees has mandated that this be followed once every 3 years, and it hasn't been.
Well,
and I'm sorry to see you in this situation.
Okay, again, to split hairs, the board policy is the thing that says we'll have a procedure in place. The AP is the one that says that the academic senate supplies names. But yeah, and Dr. Junie wants to weigh in. We're at time, but I'm going to keep you because we're going to do the accreditation thing. It's too big not to do. But unless somebody objects, we're going to hear from Dr. Junie.
Thank you. I'll just say some really quick, not to extend the conversation, a couple of things. First of all, we're not following the AP now because you're only supposed to be providing 8 names for 1/3 of the administrators that are being evaluated. And secondly, it's important to note that we're also not following the AP because these evaluations have to be done by the end of fall. And that's because it's changed that now all academic administrators have contracts, and they have to be evaluated before the end of December in order to determine whether that contract will be extended the following year. And so I appreciate, Terry, what you've been saying. There's a lot of things that have to change. I think the important part here is that we're allowing faculty input into the evaluations of their administrators this year. And I think that's something that you'll see ongoing under this new presidential leadership.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. So can we have a motion to approve these names, which all came from their divisions?
Motion to approve.
When I say these names, I mean the 140 plus names with the last minute additions. That's been moved by Professor Arneo, seconded by Professor Stoddard. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then we approve these by unanimous consent. Does anybody object to unanimous consent approval? All right, these are approved by unanimous consent. Now, in the event that we are able to flesh out some of these, I'm going to send out another call like tonight because my deadline is tomorrow. And so in the event that some areas are able to come up with maybe 1 or 2 more people, or even to flesh out for a full 8, can I have your approval to go ahead and approve them on my own rather than going through the academic senate, which would delay it for another 2 weeks? I'll just ask if there's an objection, please let me know that there's an objection to my go ahead and approving it on your behalf. Okay, thanks for allowing me to be nimble. And now y'all have waited. This is slated for 15 minutes. I'm pretty sure we're next. The ICER. We got to it. Thanks for waiting, Dr. Alvarado.
Thank you. May I screen share?
You may. So Dr. Alvarado is here to talk about the accreditation ICER. This is a first read. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. So I'm the faculty accreditation coordinator on campus, and I will try to get through this as quickly as I can. Our accreditation is important because it determines our eligibility for financial aid. It makes sure that our credits are able to transfer for our students. It gives us credibility in the community. And it really is a college-wide function that requires everyone's participation. So I'm glad that you're participating in that process today. Just to give you a little bit of the history and the background, this is the timeline for ICER approval. And the arrow is where we are right now. So fall 2020, we are going to go through shared governance approval with a variety of constituents. And our goal is to get this approved by the Board of Trustees in December so that we can submit it to ACCJC December 20th in preparation for our site team visit that's going to be March 8th through 11th of next year. And I'll give you just a bit more detail on this in a moment. So this document came out of the Accreditation Standing Committee. The Accreditation Standing Committee guides and supervises the college's accreditation activities. And a big part of that is this 300+ page accreditation report that comes out at the end of each cycle. The committee meets at least twice monthly. It includes representatives from Academic Senate, Classified, Management, the Board of Trustees, and we also have a student trustee as well. Accreditation is a 7-year cycle, and at the end of that 7-year cycle, we produce this document that we submit to ACCJC, and then we have our site visit by a visiting team. This ICER was written by and with contributions from over 100 people on campus, and if you want that full list, it's in the introduction of the ICER document. The Accreditation Standing Committee reviewed over 1,000 pieces of evidence for this document, and we ultimately ended up keeping around 700. There are 4 general standards in the ICER, and for each of these standards, the co-chairs for the writing teams are a faculty member and an administrator. So thank you in particular to members of the Academic Senate, to President Hennies, to Sheila Rose, to our past president, Lenore Rorex, to members of the Academic Senate who contributed to this document, and also members who were appointed who contributed to this document. If I've forgotten anyone, I apologize. It really has been a tremendous push on our campus for years and years to get this document produced. So the 4 standards, standard 1 is on our mission, academic quality, institutional effectiveness, and integrity. Standard 2 is on student learning programs and student services. Standard 3 has to do with our resources on campus, including our human, physical, fiscal, and technology resources. And then standard 4 has to do with leadership and governance, and that includes our superintendent president and the board of trustees. And then at the end of the document are the quality focus essays. These are not included in what you've received so far because they actually have to come out of the ICER writing process. But they will be submitted to the Academic Senate at a future date very soon so that it can also be reviewed and approved. But they're an opportunity for the college to engage in a deeper focused area to improve institutional effectiveness. And we've already decided on our 2 topics, and we have rough drafts of these. The first QFE focuses on our part-time students, and the second has to do with collegiality and communication across campus. So in reviewing this ICER, as you have done previously and as you will do between now and our second read, I want you to be thinking about whether or not it's honest, whether it's based in the evidence, because everything that we write, we have to provide a piece of evidence for. Does it address the standard and only the standard? Is it focused and is it concise? And particularly this time around, the ACCJC has required us to really pare down what we're including in this document. And then is it bully pulpit or Pollyanna? So the ACCJC has said numerous times that it needs to address the standard and only the standard. We don't want it to be overly optimistic. We want it to be an honest document. And really at this point in the review, what we're looking for is whether or not the changes you're suggesting will make a difference in our accreditation. So if you have things like grammar and punctuation, we want this to be a polished document, so please do email those changes to me. But we would like you to use your particular areas of expertise as you are reading this document. If there's something you feel like we've missed that needs to be addressed, or if there are any corrections and errors in fact. So here's our fall timeline and the various bodies that we are bringing this document to. Crystal Koros, our accreditation liaison officer and my co-chair, has already brought this to Classified Senate for a first read and to the student body. We will continue to bring it to each of the constituent groups. Again, our ultimate goal is to have this submitted to ACCJC in December 20th, which is why you're seeing it now. And ultimately what we're asking for is for each of these bodies to have their leadership sign off on a statement that says, I certify there was effective participation by the campus community, and I believe the self-evaluation report accurately reflects the nature and substance of this institution. So that's what we're going to be asking your Senate President to sign off on after our second read. Our site team visit is going to be happening in March. The team is actually going to review this document prior to the visit to the college, and they'll write most of the report before they come to campus. If there's anything they feel is lacking or they need to follow up on, they're going to ask to interview key faculty, staff, students, and administrators during the visit. And they're also able to attend any campus meetings we have. They might sit in on our academic senate meetings, any other shared governance meetings, board of trustees, and associated students. And something that's new for us because of the pandemic is that our team visit, rather than having physical bodies on campus, will most likely be a virtual visit. So our team members will be scheduling Zoom sessions with people on campus that they would like to talk to. And in preparation for that visit, we are preparing an accreditation reference guide. This exists right now, just an electronic copy. We're going to finalize it this week, and we hope to get it out to the campus as soon as we possibly can to inform everyone on just the basics of the accreditation process and to give them some background info in case they are asked to meet with any member of our visiting team. So with that, I will open it to, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's perfect. You were leading to what I was about to ask. Are we taking any questions?
Yes, I will open it to questions.
Professor Chafee.
Yes, thank you. I've got to send out notes to my faculty, and I was wondering if where to find the ICER for people to comment on, and just where would I find that, or where would they find that, I should say. You can put it in the comments if it's something simple.
Yeah, it should be included in the board packet that you got in preparation for today's meeting. That's the full document. It's over 300 pages.
So,
oh, the whole thing is in there?
Oh yeah, it's actually a separate attachment, but you received it most recently on Friday from Judy Benson.
Okay, so but if I don't want to send a 300-page document necessarily to all of my faculty, but is that what I should be doing?
That's your option. I mean, that's where we are.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Can you go back a couple of slides? I'm sorry. I wanted to screenshot something.
I can shoot you the presentation.
That's the one.
Oh, this one right here?
Oh, sure.
Yes, thank you. That's the one.
Cool.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions, any feedback, input? I'll say that geez, I forgot her name. Berlinda, Trustee Brown has been in some of our accreditation committee meetings. We've impressed her. I'll let you know that on behalf of the accreditation committee. She had some good things to say about what she saw in this document.
And Crystal and I have been reading ICERs for other community colleges, and she has served on a number of visiting teams, and I'm just serving on my first one this semester, but it seems like PCC is in really good shape. We have a very solid document, and we worked very hard on it. It's supported by evidence, and it addresses the standards correctly and thoroughly. And so I'm very optimistic that this should be a good round of accreditation for us.
Good to hear. Folks, what's going to happen is in 2 weeks, this is going to come back on our agenda, and we're going to be asking you to approve. We're going to be asking you to direct me to sign the thing, essentially. Professor Seropian, or is it Seropian?
Seropian. I mean, yeah. Thanks, Matt. I'm looking at the document, and I'm just wondering, is there a representative from the Management Association that signs off on this document? I see the other constituent groups.
No, not the Management Association itself. We do have classified signing off, and we do have managers from the association who are part of the committee, but that's not one of the constituent groups that are required to sign based on ACCJC standards.
Got it. Thank you.
Does the superintendent president sign it?
Yes.
That's where I think that lives.
Got it.
Yeah. Good looking out, though. We want to make sure that all the voices are here, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else, folks? Thank you very much, Dr. Alvarado. Oh, Professor Chafee.
Yeah, 14 years ago, I worked on the ICER, and I gotta say, it's a heck of a lot of work. And so I just wanted to say thanks to everyone, the gazillion people that worked on it. It's a lot of work, and it's a mega effort, but it's important. So thank you very much.
And it was Dr. Alvarado's entire summer.
It was. And the year
Well,
before.
let's give an extra big thank you to Al.
Absolutely. Okay, then Professor Walker.
Yes, maybe I missed it, but what is Pollyanna?
That's a great question. I think it's a bit of a dated term, but what it means is that we don't want to be overly optimistic and positive. They want a realistic look of the issues that we're dealing with. And so one of the things that they ask us to include is suggestions for improvement. So we believe that we've met all of the 120 plus standards that they ask us to meet, but there are still ways that we can improve and we can be better. And so they're asking us to take a really honest look at what could be better on our campus. And what they don't want to hear is, oh, we're so fantastic. We don't have anything to do, to improve what we're doing on campus. So being overly optimistic is what we mean by don't be Pollyanna.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. We do have more items on the agenda, but we are also past time. And so if somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn, that would be in order. But if you are willing to stick it out, then there are a couple of things that we can address. I don't see any hands. You guys are making my week. All right, next up is Academic Senate goals. At the retreat, we discussed various goals that we have as an academic senate. And these are the goals for 2021. Based on the conversation that we had in the retreat, I think some of these need help, like wordsmithing, but focus on students, increase knowledge about how student services supports our students, explore how we can overcome PCC's poor reputation among the Black community with the goal of increasing our African-American student population, incorporate social justice into our course and institution level SLOs, and increase information sharing with academic senate, campus and academic senate subcommittees. Professor Constantine, I see your hand is up.
Yes, sir. I was going to ask if we can be a bit more specific with increasing the African-American student population from the 3.8 to 15%. I'm wondering if anyone would have objections to that.
We're open for discussion there. So does anybody, should I incorporate that? I've tried copying and pasting because I was going to edit the document, but it pasted in a weird way. So, so we're going to say to 15%.
Can you include the 3.8 so that it's clear where we are at right now, where we're trying to go?
From 3.8% to 15%. Now, I just as a, I'll share the Word document that I'm working on, but I can tell you right now it's going to look weird because when I pasted it, some weird things happened. I can't explain them, but I did get this part of it. Now, if these are going to be goals for 2021, or excuse me, for 2021, for this year, I wonder if that sort of jump in student population is realistic. But I did see.
My opinion is that it's going to be as realistic as we want it to be. And hopefully we get the support of everyone on campus and everyone recognizes that, this has been like this for probably before I got to PCC, I'm pretty sure. And, it demands our attention at this stage.
Okay. Professor Endor raised a hand.
Yes, I think that no one in our group would object if it went up to 30%. But the question is, should it be in here? Because nothing else is very specific in here.
Okay. Professor Chafee.
Yeah, so I mean, the 15% is, I was wondering where that came from, and maybe we should just say a goal of significantly increasing our African-American student population from 3.8%. I'm not sure where that target of 15% comes from. And I'd also, I mean, a couple of people have mentioned that PCC has a poor reputation in the African-American community here in Pasadena, I'm assuming that is. And I was wondering if anyone, and it doesn't have to be now because of time considerations, but what are, could be, it would be nice to know more specifically what critiques there are.
No, yeah, you mentioned, I think, kind of a couple of things that are reasons why I worded this the way I did. Explore how we can overcome our poor reputation. I think that encompassed in that is learning why it is what it is, right? And then addressing that. The things that are within our purview, I mean, so we're the academic senate, right? We are not the entire campus, but you know, we have 10+1 areas of academic and professional matters. And that's why I called it a goal of increasing our African-American student population, because I'm not sure that we as a group of faculty can be the ones who increase the number of African-American students on our campus to 15%, right? I think it has to be a campus-wide effort. And I can't direct the administration to do anything in particular, right? But we can work in it as partners with them.
Yeah, and I think
speak to some of what.
Can I raise my hand?
We have other folks, but
okay, go ahead.
We'll get to you, Professor Keene.
Professor Bell, I totally agree. I ditto on everybody about that number, but I want to know why it's 15. Why not more? Why not less? Let's back it in research. Let's look equity across our competitors within our region. Why do we want that specific amount of number? I see it's being thrown out there, but we need to do a little bit more. Even if we had 2 or 3 sentences that we could post on a banner so we can wave that banner, that would be key. That would be elemental to making this a successful statistic than just saying 15%. 3.8 is valid. We can measure that, but 15 we cannot. How are we going to get there? What steps? 3 steps, not 20. How are we going to get there? So once we pull those all together, we're ready to go. Then we can throw it on, paste it.
Yeah, I think one of the first places we can start is looking at how many African-American students apply to get into
Professor Constantine.
Sorry, I'm out of order. Sorry, I apologize.
We have other hands up, people who want to chime in. I see your passion, and it's really tough to cut you off. Professor Walker.
Hello. So I agree with the percentage number, and I just feel like it would be good to, if we want to put something realistic, we should shoot for at least the population of Black people in Pasadena, which I believe is around 9 or 10%. If we could at least get that representation at PCC. When I started at PCC a while ago, I won't say the number because then you know how old I am. It was around, I want to say 9%, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. But a little while ago, it was about 9%. So if we could shoot for at least what the population is in the city of Pasadena. I know that's not our only feeder in Pasadena. I know we have students from Los Angeles and other parts of LA County. But if we could start with that, I think that's a realistic number, around 9 or 10%. Just my opinion.
And you're entitled to it. Professor Wilbur.
Professor Walker beat me to the punch by just a hair, but I'm assuming that the spirit of the thing is that our diversity at the school, both in faculty and in students, should reflect the diversity of the community we serve. And that might be a simple way of saying it, that our diversity should reflect the community that we serve.
I'm being told that district population, so not just the city of Pasadena, is 5.48% Black non-Hispanic. Professor Baja.
I think this ties in with faculty and staff. A student would probably want to come to PCC if they see someone that looks like them. And so as we talk about this, we should also think about staff and faculty too, because that plays a huge role in students wanting to be at that college.
Okay, so I think what's happening when you bring that up, which is a valid point, is we're now talking about strategies to achieve this goal.
And that's one of them.
Right? But we're not at strategies yet, my friends. We have not approved. The point of this exercise here is to establish goals for the academic senate to achieve this year, right? Talking about strategies for how to achieve them comes, absolutely. But we have to have the goals in place before we start talking about the strategies. Right, so I think maybe I put a cart before a horse here. These were developed in the retreat 2 weeks ago. It's here on the agenda so that the academic senate can ratify the goals, amend them as needed, ratify them, and then we start to get to work on them, right? And that's when I want to hear, hey, here are some strategies for bringing this about, right? So again, I love your enthusiasm. I appreciate it. We should have the goals set before we start working on them though. So what I'm seeing is that there's some there's maybe some room to adjust that particular goal.
Yes, and I could agree with Professor Walker that I could bring the number down to 10% as a realistic figure. That's fine with me.
And then I think if we're reflecting what's in Pasadena, then it's, you know, why that number? Now we have something to point to speak to another comment that was made. Professor Nordstrom.
I like to try and get a goal be measurable. So I think adding some sort of a percentage or some sort of a qualifying statement is good. I kind of see three different things that we've said though. And this was before Professor Constantine just said that he'll bring it down, but like the 15% as a goal is one, the getting it to kind of the percent for African Americans in Pasadena, and then reflecting the community we serve, because that's like the district level. And if you even then think like according to the self-study here, only 35% of our students come from within our district, and 65% are out. So that's actually the community we're initially serving, or right now serving. So do we want to? Let's just be careful of the wording so that we're really saying what we want. I'm all for having it to be the 10% or reflecting Pasadena, but then that's not the district. So just to be careful that we state it clearly.
And remember, 5.48 is the district from our Office of Institutional Effectiveness. I am being yelled at in the chat that we are out of time for this. And so what would be in order would be an extension or to bring this back in 2 weeks. And there is a hand up, Professor Wilbur.
Yeah, I want to go out of the way to say that's why I said community. I didn't say district. Well, I said community.
Right.
And community is very broad. I consider our community Los Angeles, California.
Okay. So did we want to continue this with the goal of codifying these goals, or do we want to bring it back? Professor Andor. You have two options here.
I think we ought to bring it back because apparently we have more to discuss on this.
Okay, that's one of the options. So what we can do is we can let time pass on this one, and we'll revisit this in 2 weeks. If you have suggestions for the wording, shoot them to me, please. Next up on the agenda, recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Matt, will you be sending those goals out to us, or did you already?
They are in your packet.
Oh, okay, I did.
It's the very last page of your packet because of where they appeared in the agenda.
Okay.
So at least it'll be easy.
In the agenda. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A point was made 2 weeks ago regarding the Pledge of Allegiance. Rather than using your words, he didn't know I was going to do this. I'm going to invite Professor Constantine to re-raise the point that you made 2 weeks ago.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hennis. I have a lot of love for the U.S. The U.S. has given me so much. When you hear the words, justice and liberty for all, it doesn't add up. And all I'm asking is that we consider, all I'm asking is that we reconsider these words that we say before the meeting. Does it truly reflect the life that we see in the US? I know it's just a personal opinion. I'm not expecting anyone to jump on board right away, but I think words are powerful. And it's nothing against the flag. I love the military that protects the US, that keeps us safe here. It's just that we don't see justice and liberty for all, at least right now in the US. And I just thought it would be nice to hear from my fellow senators how they feel about the Pledge of Allegiance. Obviously, because you're born and raised in the US, and it's always been something within the school system, and I understand that, I respect it. I respect the anthem, I respect everything. I just feel like, is this something we want to continue to say at the start of the meeting? Thank you.
Thank you for that, for your openness, for your transparency, and for being willing to bring this up. Professor Chafee.
It was a part of school for many years, and I've said the Pledge of Allegiance countless times. When I got married, I just made my vows once. I didn't feel the need to say them again and again and again. I don't really understand why a community college, a California community college, is doing a Pledge of Allegiance. It's not that I have anything against the Pledge of Allegiance. I just don't see it as being, someone can help me with the word, pertinent. That's not really quite the word, but some germane to our mission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm not seeing any hands at the moment, but what might be in order would be, now as soon as I say that, I see a hand. What might be in order would be a motion if you're ready. This is here for discussion and possible action. And generally what happens, according to Robert's Rules of Order, generally what happens is a motion is made. I forgot this and then let Professor Chafee speak. A motion is made and then seconded. Once it's on the floor, then the discussion occurs, right? So I'm not pushing for a motion. I'm just trying to follow Robert's Rules of Order. That said, Professor Nordstrom, your hand is up.
So I can discuss or no? Yes. You're calling on me?
It's kind of up to the body, but I will call on you.
I need to be honest.
Okay.
You want to take it back?
So I wasn't going to make a motion if that's what you were asking me to do.
Okay.
So I appreciate both comments and very much Professor Constantine's. For me, I guess I've always thought of it as being, well, two things. I want to say for Lyman, the idea that we're a public school. And so to me, that's where it kind of comes from. But then I've always thought of the pledge as being, I'm not acknowledging that we're perfect, but that's what I'm pledging. Like I literally am pledging to work towards that and to work every day that I'm teaching for justice for all and to seek that. And so that's kind of the take that I've always had on the pledge. And yes, I understand about the marriage vows. You don't repeat them maybe publicly all the time, but you do, I hope, repeat them daily. But I guess that's for me, just that I totally am not acknowledging that our country is perfect, but that I will be working to seek liberty and justice for all. So thank you for letting me share.
You're welcome. And I think we have like 5 minutes left before we have to really call it quits on this meeting. But Professor Francoso?
Yeah, I agree with Professor Constantine. I think it's an archaic process. It's an old process. It doesn't account for historical and as well as contemporary injustices. It forces us to kind of pledge allegiance to a process of our own oppression and systemic forms of violence. Yeah, I firmly believe that we don't need to be saying it, or maybe we come up with some other pledge that's more beneficial to multiple communities, and that's not one that's rested in kind of a white supremacist nostalgia. Sorry, not sorry. Thank you.
I don't think that you should say sorry after making a statement like that. Just me. We did run out of time during that. So can we have an extension, a motion to extend by 5 minutes?
Motion to extend.
Or by some time less than 5 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, all right. Is there a second? So moved by Professor Ruiz, seconded by a wave of the hand by Professor Chafee. And unless there's an objection, we will approve that by unanimous consent. It happened while I was speaking. Professor Wilbur, go ahead.
I would point out that as long as it still exists, you always have the right to not say it. And that's a powerful form of protest in and of itself. You guys don't have to stand up. You guys don't have to say it. And that's fine too. I never said the Texas Pledge of Allegiance to the Texas flag when I lived in Texas. I felt that it was a little silly. I had the tradition of growing up with the American Pledge of Allegiance, but yeah, in Texas classrooms, they have a Texas flag and a Texas pledge, and I didn't feel the need to do that. And so that would be my protest there, is we could always protest this if you guys see fit to do so.
Good old Republic of Texas. Professor Ruiz.
I'm just trying to live by example, and if we're trying to listen, and when people tell us that they're hurting, let's respond to that. And I've heard that people are hurt by this. So I think that this is a perfect symbol of changing our own system, regardless of the discomfort that some of us might feel, to make that environment more comfortable, especially to this particular population that we're trying to show that we care and welcome and make space for. So I see no problem with honoring that request.
Professor Endor. You're muted.
I also don't say the part under God, because I believe in the separation of church and state. So that's also something that affects a lot of us in the United States. I'm also kind of not in favor of the Knights of Columbus, who—
Let's stay on topic here.
Oh, that's the topic. That's their—
The topic is the Pledge of Allegiance as—
Yes, the Knights of Columbus.
No, sorry, Professor Endor, the topic is the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of our academic senate meetings.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that, yeah. Professor Wilbur.
To follow up on Professor Endor's comment, the last time we met in person collectively, you'll probably notice it gets really quiet in the room at that same line. So you're not the only one.
I've noted the same thing myself. Does anybody feel like making a motion?
I'll make the motion, man.
Will you verbalize it, please? I think I know what it is, but will you please verbalize it, Professor Constantine?
So I move to suspend the reading of the Pledge of Allegiance at the start of the Academic Senate meeting.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Professor Endor has her
I'll
hand up.
second, yeah.
Several people have their hand up, but I'll give it to Professor Endor because I had to cut her off in the previous comment there. So moved by Professor Constantine, seconded by Professor Endor to suspend the recitation of the Pledge. I'm going to change the motion just a little bit to suspend the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance during academic senate meetings.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? I think this needs to be roll call. I know. I don't know if you saw it coming, Dr.
I
Lopez.
saw it coming.
All right. All right.
Okay. Again, this will not be in alphabetical order. Jaramillo.
I'm in favor of suspending.
Okay,
Yay.
so a yes vote means we will suspend it. I know. I saw what was going on. So what you mean to vote, Professor Jaramillo, is yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
A no vote means you support us to continue to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Hennis. Rose.
Yes.
Lopez. Yes. Constantine.
Yes.
Endor.
Yes.
Jerome.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Winter.
Yes.
Keen.
Yes.
Ayers. Baja.
Yes.
Am I saying that right, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Seropian.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mount-Eric.
Aye.
Swaminathan.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Vento. Garson. Ruiz.
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Chafee.
Yes.
Leon.
Yes.
Nordstrom.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Foster. Vendrosco.
Yes.
Wilbur.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Kaido. Ebig. Francoso.
Yes.
Rigon.
Yes.
The yeses have it unanimously.
That is unanimous. That motion carries. We will suspend the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I have just, there's no segue here. I've just put into the chat a link. It's based on our dashboard here, a place to see where our students are coming from. And so if you're interested in our students' demographics, or geographic locations, I should say, then I urge you to copy that and then paste it somewhere so that you can refer to it later. I've done the same. The only other things on our agenda are officers' reports. Well, there are several things, but we're not going to get to them. I will say though, please remember there will be a technology survey coming out. Please urge your constituents to take part in it. And I know that I had some stuff on my president's report. I just want to make sure that I'm not blowing past anything that I really, really needed to tell you. Not really, except for one thing. We will probably be revisiting the grade forgiveness information that we had in spring. The Chancellor's Office had an expiration date on that, on being able to offer EWs and offering students alternative ways to report their grades. It looks like that MOU, which had been, or whatever, it was an executive order, it is expired. It looks like it's going to be extended for another period. So that may be coming down the pipe. Wanted you to be aware of that. We're talking about EWs and pass, no pass deadlines and that sort of thing. And then that technology survey will probably be coming from Office of Institutional Effectiveness. So either Crystal's name or OIE, but it's originally coming from the District Technology Committee. That said, we are well past time, and so without a motion, we will adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for your time, attention, and your thoughts. Have a great day, evening.
Great meeting.